Hi people and hello my Chili Con Carnage crew, it's Chili here, the man with design for my eyes, doing a 5-minute review on Eric Clapton's newest album, Meanwhile. Well, this week is a big week for Eric Clapton fans, as this is an artist I've never covered, and of course, in the space of 1 week, I cover him twice, with this review and Daniel Santiago's album of Eric Clapton covers. So, Old Slow Hands is back with his first album in 6 years since 2018's Happy Christmas, and his 22nd solo album, Meanwhile, which depicts the man himself sitting in a small cafe looking like an incognito web browser. No, I take that back. He looks like the typical MI6 agent delivering some kind of message to Bond in some dead drop. You know, the one like in A View to Kill. Anyway, let us begin. I think it's a perfect start to this review to discuss the song which features Daniel Santiago, and of course the connection point between these two artists. Daniel Santiago is a Brazilian acoustic guitarist who a few years ago collaborated on a song with Eric Clapton called Open World. It was the only reason that I listened to this track, if I'm being quite honest, but it quickly became one of my favourite songs of the year, and it led me down the path of discovering Daniel Santiago's music that I even came to enjoy, and even covering a few of his records for a few reviews, including his recent album which features him playing Eric Clapton songs in his own style. This brings us to the EC album, which is a perfect example of history coming full circle, as it now features Daniel Santiago on Eric Clapton's record, thus returning the favour. Yes, I know it's not quite the most thrilling piece of trivia, but if you're a fan of Eric Clapton, you should at least check out the Daniel Santiago album and the rest of his works.
I can't take this BS any longer, it's gone far enough.
Well, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Songs about COVID are feeling old and stale by now, and this applies to the protest song on this album, This Has Gotta Stop, featuring Van Morrison, and is nearly the exact same song title from that artist too, on a song found on his Pay the Devil album. Except that album was about getting out of a relationship, not getting out of a vaccination. Wasn't Clapton part of the generation that fought off and managed to eradicate polio? Well, disregarding this minor blip, then I guess I should state it's highly ironic for the man who spent up to $16,000 a day on heroin, cocaine and booze to start giving out medical advice about what he doesn't want to put into his body. Anyway, I don't think I'll be taking any medical advice from someone who doth protest having a scientifically proven and tested compound placed in their body, but willingly injected or snorted God knows what was in that other shite for the better part of 2 decades. And if you are looking to Clapton for advice on this matter, then I have a bridge to sell you. What happened, Clapton? You became afraid of needles in your older age? Once you are aware of this fact, the protest song feels extremely hollow with its message, irrespective of Eric Clapton's sober life of the last few years. Like I said, all songs about COVID should be dead and buried by now, and that goes for any kind of musician. Despite the dubious rhetoric poised on this song, I will look past the tinfoiled messages and admit that the music on hand isn't too bad. Of course, as to be expected with a modern day Eric Clapton solo album, most material on this record is in fact covers, such as the version of Chuck Berry's song You've Changed, or Tex Ritter's song Sam Hall, which are both an interesting comparison, as one is a bluesy kind of ballad and the other has a country twang, but both are done to a slow waltz-like tune which perfectly encapsulates the album and what is on offer, as the record itself is a collection of slow tunes. Well, naturally, of course. Despite being an enjoyable Eric Clapton record, I think some of the biggest issues that were faced during my enjoyment of this latest album was the inclusion of Van Morrison, an artist whose voice I just cannot stand, on so many tracks as well. It also doesn't help that his inclusion makes up for half of the 4 arseholes of yesteryear's apocalypse in one album. I'm usually very good at separating musicians from their music, but I do not enjoy what Van Morrison embodies. So on these 3 tracks featuring him, they get marked down a few notches. Now let's move aside from the negativity and focus on what is good on this record, and for most of the part this is a classic Eric Clapton signature sounding album, containing covers played in his style of slow jamming guitar work that is easily appreciated by myself, especially on the song Moon River, which features a guest appearance by the one and only Jeff Beck, may you rock in peace. And his addition is a warm welcome on this affair, of course, as an instrumental cover of the original song. This album might not blow your socks off, but it isn't a terrible outing by the musician, and indeed there are plenty of other records that he has released that are much worse. This one just seems to fall somewhere in the middle, I guess. It's just fine, but admittedly if you're going back to listen to a Clapton record, this is not going to be the first one you're reaching for. Overall, I will give this album a score of 6.5 million chilies on the spicy scale, with my favourite tracks being Moon River, Smile and Pompous Fool. This isn't a bad album, although it might drag on for a bit too long in certain sections of the record, as the record itself has a 64-minute runtime. But disregarding this, it's not a complete waste of time as to be expected from Eric Clapton as well, as the album itself does contain a few enjoyable moments indeed.
If you've enjoyed this content, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to us, and stay notified for future music related content, because it keeps our manager happy at the end of the day. We are also on Discord, Instagram, Facebook, and all those other social platforms if you want to check us out. As always, people, you have a great day and stay spicy.